Hey guys, welcome to another Edpuzzle. This way we're changing gears, going away from equations, and we're jumping into angle relationships. So we've seen different types of angles in the past. This year we're going to look how do they relate to each other. Three specific angle relationships today, that is complementary, supplementary, and vertical. The most common are the angle relationships. We'll get started off by trying to find some of these angles that we have talked about in the past. Okay, so did you now says identify each of the following angles. The first one is acute. Can you find the acute angles? Well, the acute angles are letter D and letter F. Acute angles are angles that are less than 90 degrees. Okay, next one is obtuse. So can you find the obtuse angle? The obtuse angle is letter B. Obtuse angles are greater than 90 but less than 180. What's the next one? The right angle. The right angle, this one we're going to see a lot today. The right angle is 90 degrees exactly, and in pictures has a little box in the corner. So that little box in the bend of the angle means it's right. And the last one is straight. Straight angle is also important today because that is one side to the other. If I do one half of a turn, that is a 180 degree angle. Okay, so those are the basic angles. You've probably hopefully heard about those or kind of heard them before. Today what we're going to do is talk about how they relate to each other. Okay, so the important thing is what we're going to talk about: vertex, a common point where the intersections of two lines. So the vertex, if I draw out my angle like this, it's that point that it changes direction, or that point where it turns. Okay, our first angle relationship are called complementary angles. It is two angles that have a sum of 90 degrees. Okay, they form, and again, they form a right angle. So if two angles come together, they form a right angle. That's 90 degrees. We call them complementary. They can be looked at one of two ways. They can be adjacent, which means they are sharing this side right here. That means adjacent. So that middle diagonal is both part of the 52. It's the side of the 52 degree angle and the side of the 38 degree angle. So those are adjacent next to each other. Very important because you're going to have to identify angles later on. This right here, if you look at complementary angles, there's two angles and they form, and you see that box in the corner. That is complementary. They could also be non-adjacent. That means 58 and 32. If I add those together, 58 plus 32, 1 carry the 1. They add up to 90 degrees. That also means they're complementary. Okay, so complementary add up to 90 degrees. All right. Supplementary. Okay, two angles are called supplementary if they add up to 180 degrees. That means they form a straight angle, right? Easiest way to identify them. Two adjacent supplementary angles make a straight line. So what do I mean by that? Look at this line. This is our straight line, and this line separates it into two different angles. Okay, so they're adjacent. They are sharing one of the lines, but they can also be non-adjacent as well. 135 plus 45 is, oh, look at that, is 180. Okay, so two angles, you add them together, they add up to 180. We call them supplementary. Could be more than two angles, could be three angles, could be a 60, a 60, and a 60. Add them together, add up to 180. We call those angle relationships supplementary. Okay, here's a couple helpful hints. Some people like them, some people don't. I like the one where you draw the line on complementary. That makes it look like CO looks like a 90, right? That's 90 degrees, so add them together to get 90. The supplementary, draw that little line, maybe looks like a 180. I don't know. But either way, if they're complementary, they add up to 100 or 90 degrees. Supplementary adds up to 180 degrees. Our third angle relationship are called vertical angles. Okay, two angles that are opposite a shared vertex. They're across from each other, right? Just like the middle school is across, is on the opposite corner than the elementary school. Okay, we are those two, Onek and Mill Road. They create angles, and we are vertical angle with the elementary school. Okay. Vertical angles are always congruent. Okay, congruent looks like this. It's an equal sign with a little tilde on top. That's equal in measure. Okay, basically equal for geometry. We call that congruent. Right? So in this case, there are four angles. There's two sets of congruent angles. We have A is congruent with C because they're across from each other. So not next to, not adjacent. Vertical angles aren't going to be adjacent. And B and D are across from each other. They are vertical angles. So vertical angles are congruent. Complementary 90 degrees, supplementary 180 degrees, vertical are congruent. All right. So what we're going to do here is we are going to try to find some of these angles, right? Identify them, and then find some measurements. So name two angles that are supplementary. So there's a lot of different angles, but for supplementary is 180. I can take one of these lines. So I'm going to take that line right here and say, what two angles? Well, look at this. I have angle 1 and angle 6. If I put them together, I get that line, that diagonal. So angle 1 and angle 6. What are complementary? Well, complementary, I'm looking for the box, right? So right here, I see there's the box. So this is our 90-degree angle. That's made up of angles 3 and 4. Angle 3 and angle 4. What two angles are vertical? So vertical with all these angles, a little tougher to see. So I want to see two lines that are created, or two lines that are drawn here. So there's a line and there's a line. And what two angles are opposite each other? And angle 1 is opposite of angle 5. So we'll say angle 1 and angle 5. What name two angles that are adjacent? Adjacent aren't as important. That just means next to. So we're going to skip right on past that. Okay. Here's really where we're going to use these angles. We are going to look at the angles, decide is it complementary, supplementary, vertical, and then we can find the missing measurement. So for instance, this first one, I see the box. Box is 90 degrees. That means that these are complementary. And they add up to 90. So I could say, all right, well, 90 minus 51 is 39. So angle B has to be 39 degrees. So I'll look at the picture, decide what type of angle it is, then find the missing measurement. Okay? B. Oh, well, look, those two angles make a straight line. So that's supplementary. 180 minus 117. B is 63 degrees. So I know they add up to 180 because they're supplementary. So I find that missing angle. All right. Here we go. What do you think about number 3? If you said complementary, you're on a roll here. They have to add up to 90. So 90 minus 37 is 53. So B is 53 degrees. 4 is weird. There's some lines that don't really need to be there. So, but here's that straight line. So that is supplementary. So there's my calculation. Supplementary means 180. 180 minus 116 is 64. Okay, a couple more here. B and 43, they're across from each other. Okay, just like us in the elementary school. So we call that vertical. Vertical are congruent, so no calculation. They're just the same measurement. Both are 43. Okay, what do you see here? Oh, I see a box that you're going to shout at me. That's complementary. 90 minus 31. B is 59 degrees. All right. I want you to try the practice that we have going on. If you have questions, please let me know. I'm trying not to make this too long for you. Identify those angle relationships first, then you can find the missing angles. They add up to 90. You see the box, complementary. They create a straight line. They add up to 180. Supplementary, two lines that cross across from each other. So not next to, not adjacent, but two angles that are across from each other, like the middle school and elementary school. We call those vertical. All right. Good luck. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys soon.